Hello, and welcome to the Modern Persian Food Podcast. We are food bloggers,
Bita Arabian
and Bita Nazim Kelly, and we're here to share with you the rich flavors and fresh ingredients of Persian cooking and how to incorporate them into today's modern lifestyles.
We're so excited to introduce you to the flavors, tastes, and techniques we use and our own stories growing up in Persian American families. Thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome to episode 6 of the Modern Persian Food Podcast, where Bita and I are going to be talking about Shirini. We have a whole episode dedicated to the sweets and desserts in Persian food that we call Shirini. Shirini actually means sweet things. And we have a bunch of different things that we want to share with you today. We want to talk to you about some of the delicious cream-filled pastries, some of the different Persian puddings and ice creams and the flavors that go into them, and the different occasions on when we eat these delicious treats and how to make them. So welcome to episode 6. Bita Jun, you are someone who has a big sweet tooth, so I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
I love sweets. I do have a sweet tooth, but I just wanted to say also that with regards to Persian desserts, one of the things that makes them so unique is we do have some symbolic occasions, holidays and special days, and they're also quite easy to make, oftentimes with really basic ingredients. At the same time as being easy, they can also be very ornate and beautiful. So I can't wait to talk to you about this. And they're so delicious, really interesting ingredients, and sometimes nutritious, oftentimes with gluten-free flours and nuts and dates and honey. I think for me, one of my favorite desserts.
Yeah, tell us what your favorites are.
Well, ice cream. If I had to choose, I would say ice cream, bastani in Farsi.
There's a couple different Persian ice cream type things, right? There's standard ice cream, bastani, which has rosewater and cream, and what else is in there?
I think the traditional one that I know of, if there's another one, I'm not sure I know of it, but I'm pretty sure it has saffron, rosewater, and pistachios. And I think we mentioned it in one of our previous episodes, but also it has actual chunks of cream in it.
Yes. And you could also put those in between wafers to make like little ice cream sandwiches, which is always such a nice treat, especially if you're at a big party and then for dessert, they come out with a big tray of big heaping pile of these ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah, they're kind of refreshing. Persian ice cream sandwiches are really different in that I think that they're light. Like you said, that wafer, just a very thin, not even sweet.
Right.
Just kind of gives it a crunch and it's really, I love it.
Yeah. And the other type of ice cream is the Falloodeh, right? Is that rice noodles in there?
That's right. Yeah. I don't know if I would call it ice cream, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Falloodeh, it's made with frozen rice noodles and it's often served with lime juice. Mm-hmm. So there's a dessert where you can order half ice cream and half of the rice noodles. I think they call it mixed Makhlood.
Yeah, Makhlood, it means to have a mix. So yeah, that sounds delicious to have both.
Yeah, so I think that when you order Makhlood, for example, in a restaurant, you get half Falloodeh, half ice cream, and then they put the lime juice all over it. How you mix it is then you take like a spoon of the ice cream and a spoon of the frozen rice noodles.
That sounds delicious. Don't you have a cheat, or is it your mother-in-law's cheat recipe for the Persian ice cream?
Yes. How she makes Persian ice cream is she just gets a big tub of vanilla ice cream, and sometimes she'll freeze cream. And I don't know if this is the actual way that people make it in Iran, but she'll freeze cream, I think, in like a freezer bag, and then she'll break it up and she'll have the kids help if they're around, stir in the frozen chunks of cream with rose water and pistachios. And if you really wanted to, you could also dissolve some saffron or spray some saffron spray into it as well. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen Persian rose ice cream in trendy ice cream stores?
It's like so popular. Everyone loves it. I like it in small doses. I like a little bit of it, a few bites of it, but I can't have a whole big bowl of something that has rose water. I do appreciate it, but I just can't have a ton of it.
Yeah, not everybody loves it. My Uncle Mirza's wife, Cheryl, is American. Aunt Cheryl, I grew up with her. She's like a second mom. But she used to say that to her, having desserts with rose water wasn't her favorite because she thought of rose water as perfumey, almost like a bathroom spray. But It's whether if you can get over that. To me, it's so delicious.
Let's talk about other Persian desserts. Let's talk about the cream-filled ones, like a cream puff.
Oh, yeah. Cream puffs are another favorite. So Persian cream puffs, they're just extra puffy. I used to make them, and I have an uncle, my Hossein Dai makes them. They're extra big and puffy.
Yeah.
And the cream, it's not like pudding inside. I know there's different kinds of cream puffs, but the Persian ones are actual cream inside. And they do sometimes have rose water.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It's not like puddingy. It's just beautiful cream with vanilla in it sometimes too.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I have a cousin who puts vanilla in it and it's delicious.
Noon khameh. How'd I do?
Yep, great. Noon khameh. Mm-hmm.
Noon khameh. So noon means bread in Farsi.
Yep.
Khameh means...
Yeah, khameh means creamy.
Our younger daughter, Ava, she's got this creamy, beautiful, soft baby skin. And she used to be nicknamed Cream Puff, the Farsi way of saying cream puff.
So cute.
It's an endearing nickname that she has. But she also loved eating them.
And then have you had napoloni before?
Oh, yes.
That one, the cream is a little bit more puddingy, right? And then it's layered in between puff pastry.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a tiered dessert, which is so delicious. It's a little messy to eat. It has powdered sugar all over it. And that's like one of my favorites.
Yeah, so in Persian desserts, there are a lot of pastries, often served with tea. When my mom comes over, she laughs at us because sometimes we'll just drink tea, for the caffeine, but she cannot. She's like, where's the sheer-berenj? She's like, you're having that plain. What? Where's the sugar cube or the yummy pastry?
Yeah, totally. Tea in itself has its own ceremony, really, to have like a tea service. So we'll have a tea episode, what to eat and how to actually make tea. A lot of times the dessert will have like a lot of fruit.
Dessert in Persian culture is often just fresh fruit, washed and cut up and peeled and served out with plates, and the fresh fruit is the dessert. You are absolutely right. Good point. How do you feel about donuts and fried desserts?
I love them. I love zulubiyet and bamiyet. Bamiyet is the little small fried donut rounds.
Zulbiya bamiye.
Yeah, zulubiya bamiye. Zulubiya, it kind of looks like a funnel cake, actually. It's like fried, golden and crispy, sugary. It seems like it has honey on it.
It does, doesn't it?
I don't think it actually has honey.
Oh, tastes like honey.
It's the sugar. They call it shad, which is the syrup.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of looks like a funnel cake. It's flat and it has like a curly kind of design to it. It's super delicious.
It's always served with tea.
Yeah, because it's so rich too.
Yeah. And to tell you the truth, I cannot. I mean, it's too sweet for me.
It's too sweet. Yeah.
I mean, I can have like one bite, but I just like, wow, it's really, really sweet and deep fried.
So that's the zulubiya, and its partner in crime is bamiye, which was I was saying is like the small round ball of it. But those are delicious.
They're always served together. So my grandma used to make halva. And this is one that's really easy. It's just kind of like cooking it over the stove and just sort of stirring it and just sort of burning butter, sugar, flour. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's toasting the flour. And so it turns into like a really rich colored roux, dark golden brown, amber color.
It's flour, sugar, butter.
Mm-hmm. And saffron.
And definitely saffron. Some people put a little bit of rose water. I think my family does.
It actually is a simple recipe, although there's like an art to it. There's people who are like known for their halva. You have to just keep mixing it. If you have other people in the house, everyone kind of takes a turn mixing it.
Yeah, it can't be lumpy. It has to be smooth. I love it.
Yeah, I like it.
It's a high energy snack. It's sometimes made traditionally for women who've just had a newborn baby to give them energy. And another occasion that it is often made is when someone passes away.
Yeah. So this is one of those foods that kind of has ceremonial association to it. So when someone passes away or on very religious occasions or the anniversary of either someone passing away or a religious occasion, because we kind of celebrate that person's life on an annual basis.
Yeah, so we make halva, and it's on the anniversary sometimes of someone's passing and you're remembering them. And it's like a paste or a pudding, but it's very thick. Sometimes you put little like imprints with a finger, decorate it with pistachios.
You spread it out flat in a platter. And as you were saying, you can either use like your finger to make a design on it, or the back of a spoon, or the top tip of a spoon. And you can make like a beautiful pattern on it. And in those ceremonies, someone will serve it and you can take like a little spoonful of it, or sometimes they have it actually like on a little piece of bread. And usually in those occasions, you usually say like a prayer for the person who's passed away. But it's very delicious. Once it's in the house, I can't help myself but like taking a spoonful every time I walk by, which is pretty dangerous because, like, as you're saying, it is fried and it has like a lot of sugar and oil and butter. So it's not the healthiest, but it really is delicious. Halva.
Yeah. And it keeps in the fridge. If there's any left, you can preserve it in the refrigerator. But let's not forget to talk about puddings. We have a lot of, speaking of things that you're stirring stovetop, there are a lot of interesting puddings. There are a couple of rice puddings, and then there are a couple of starchy puddings. So what do you know about the different rice puddings in Persian desserts?
So there's two main ones that come to mind that are made with rice. There's the sholeh-zard, which is saffron rice pudding. And then there's sheer-berenj, which is made with milk. And it's really delicious. And you can put raisins in there.
Sholeh-zard, the saffron rice pudding's made with water. That's a big differentiator, water and a lot of sugar. And then the sheer-berenj, the rice pudding, sheer means milk.
Yes, that's right.
And berenj means rice. So sheer-berenj means rice pudding.
I haven't made either of the puddings very often, but the first time I tried to make sholeh-zard, I think you have to let it like simmer longer than I did it. I was living in New York at the time, and we had like a Persian New Year party, and I cooked a bunch of different Persian food, and I made sholeh-zard for like dessert. And I cooked it, and it looked really beautiful, and I did a really beautiful design on the top of it with cinnamon. I made little diamond design on it and put pistachios on it.
Beautiful.
But unfortunately, it looked really nice, but it wasn't cooked all the way. We served it up, and it was like the rice was like all like hard and like it was all runny. So I guess when you make sholeh-zard, just make sure that you cook it long enough so that everything gets a chance to kind of turn into a nice pudding.
Oh, that's funny. You had crunchy sholeh-zard.
Yeah, so I'm always a little bit hesitant about making it because I'm always afraid I'm going to butcher it up.
We also in Persian desserts have a couple of very starchy puddings, but very delicious. There are two. One is called Fereni. And Fereni is a Persian rice custard that's made with rice flour and is flavored with rose water. Our family makes a version of that called Yakh-dar-behesht. And Yakh-dar-behesht literally translates as ice in heaven or ice in paradise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Yakh-dar-behesht, ice in heaven, is made with wheat starch. But if you can't find wheat starch, they do have it in Iranian markets and Middle Eastern markets. You can order it online. But if you don't have wheat starch, you can make it with cornstarch.
Oh, okay.
Our younger daughter, Ava, you know that stage of babyhood where they're supposed to start on solid foods?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I started to give her some samples of Yakh-dar-behesht, and she loved that stuff. I put it in ice cube trays and freeze it, and I would pop it out, and that was her baby food.
Well, that's like a great way to, like, if you are going to batch cook it like that, and then you have dessert ready to go whenever you want.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And we do have some Persian candies. Are you familiar with some of the sweets and Persian candies that are sometimes at weddings or parties?
Yeah. Sohan asadi, which is saffron brittle with pistachios. I've actually seen them make it, which is really cool. It's like a paste before it actually hardens. The actual brittle part before it hardens is like a big round of the brittle dough, I guess you can call it. And then they flatten it out. Well, if you think about like a traditional tortilla maker, how it has that round plate, they press on it and it makes the design, and then they sprinkle the pistachios on it.
Yeah, it's like a brittle, but it's a soft brittle.
Yeah.
It's up there with my very, very favorites. That's so cool that you've seen it made. I've never seen it made.
Yeah, that was in Qom in Iran, outside of Tehran. They're actually known for their sohan. Traditionally, you don't eat it warm, but I ate it warm and it was like super delicious and sweet.
Yeah, I think in the Western cultures, American brittle is usually hard, like you gotta crunch and chew it.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
But this one, maybe because of all of the butter and oils, it usually, when it's fresh, it stays very soft, right?
Yeah.
Whenever we have family coming to visit from Iran, they often bring that and other delicacies that are hard to find here.
Like gaz.
Yes, gaz.
Yeah, tell us about gaz.
Well, I've never seen it made or made it myself, but I've eaten plenty of it. Mm-hmm. It's like a white taffy. Again, when it's fresh, it's soft. I really like the soft gaz, and they have whole, oftentimes big chunks of pistachio nuts in them, and they are powdered.
It's actually just flour. They'll store it in that. So if you get a traditional box of gaz, they come in these little round, smaller discs, and then it's in the box with flour so it doesn't stick together. But now the new trend of having gaz is actually in individual like containers, like sealed little like candy wrappers, basically.
Don't forget baklava.
Yes.
Technically, I think the Greece would say it comes from Greece. I think the Turkish would say it comes from Turkey. I'm not sure who gets credit for originating baklava, but we definitely have different kinds of baklava in Persian desserts. And some of them have phyllo dough, like you would expect baklava to have. And then other Persian baklavas are more of a tiny pastry that don't necessarily have phyllo dough. I don't know if they have different names, but like the little diamond-shaped ones?
Yeah, you're right. What's in baklava? It's like ground walnuts. And does it have honey in it, or is it just that same syrup?
A lot of baklavas do have honey. I have some cake lava recipes. I call it cake lava when it doesn't have phyllo dough. It's easier. Phyllo dough is delicious and it makes it beautiful and light.
Yeah.
Almond flour is another thing I'll sometimes use, or like a marzipan, which is a sweetened almond paste. Works really well in baklava type desserts or cake lavas.
That is a lot of sweets. We just covered a bunch of different sweets, and there's a lot more that we will cover in future episodes, as we mentioned. And we hope that you enjoyed hearing about all these delicious things. We do have an Ask the Beats. This Ask the Beats actually comes from Sabrina from Brooklyn, and she is asking about gluten-free Persian sweets. So you talked about it on some of the different sweets that you mentioned, but is there anything else you can share about gluten-free desserts that we can tell Sabrina?
That's a great question. As we sort of touched on it, and when we talked about each of the different categories of Persian sweets, they are often naturally gluten-free. Our cookies are oftentimes made with rice flour or chickpea flour. We have a lot of different kinds of cookies, and I feel like we could almost have an episode of its own just on Persian cookies. Our cakes are a lot of times made with almond flour, so they are often just gluten-free by nature. We also have some puddings that don't have any gluten in them. So actually, most of them are gluten-free. So great question.
Perfect. If anyone has any additional questions or anything that they want us to talk about, be sure to let us know and we can feature that on the next Ask the Beats. We want to just thank everybody for listening and sharing your time with us. We look forward to talking to you guys again next week about our next topic. We're going to be talking about fall flavors.
Thanks, Bita. If you have any questions or subjects you'd like us to touch on, shoot us an email at hello@modernpersianfood.com. Until next time. So you've been listening to Modern Persian Food with Bita and Beata. Thanks for spending time with us. If you enjoyed what you heard today, consider telling your friends or giving us a good rating on iTunes. You can subscribe to our show for free on your favorite podcasting app or find us online at modernpersianfood.com for recipes and info that we talked about today. Thanks so much. We'd love to hear your thoughts and see you next time.